It's Nick Artigo here. I'm going to show you how to do Romanian style deadlift with kettlebells. You can also do this exercise with barbells. We're going to use kettlebells today. So the Romanian style deadlift is basically a deadlift that is completely hip dominant, meaning that there's just a slight bend in the knees, and I'm using motion at the hips to perform most of the motion as I pick weights up off the floor, whether they're kettlebells or a barbell or dumbbells. So the main thing here is to have a slight bend in the knees, push the hips back, keep the chest lifted, and hinge at the hips. So being able to hinge at the hips is instrumental in being able to do this exercise properly. If you can't hinge at the hips, you're not going to be able to do this one right, so you need to work on that movement pattern. The best way to work on hinging at the hips, or one way to work on it, is to put your hands at your hip crease and kind of find that fold and push it back. Keep your spine as straight as you can. You don't want to bend this way. You don't want your spine rounding forward. Also, the knees remain slightly bent because you have a better chance, a better line of pull for your glutes when the knees are slightly bent. When you completely straighten the legs, the IT band kind of goes on slack, and the glutes tie into the IT band. That's where they exert their pull from. So they're slack in the IT band, meaning the legs are locked out, the knees are completely straight. When they're slack in the IT band, the glutes can't contribute. So we want the glutes to contribute. They're the strongest muscle in the posterior chain of hamstrings, glutes, and lower back. We want them to be able to contribute. You have a slight bend in the knees, hinge at the hips, and come back up. I'm going to add weight to that. Add these two kettlebells. I'm going to show you that from the front side. My feet are about hips distance apart, not out wide or not in too close, not touching each other. From here, take a nice inhale as I hinge the hips. Reach for the kettlebells and lift them. I may not be able to keep my hips hinged and the lower back from rounding by going all the way down. So I only go down, say I'm holding my kettlebells, I only go down to the extent that I can still keep my spine from rounding out. If my spine has to round to get the weights all the way back to the floor, what I do is shorten the range of motion and work within the range of motion that I can use that doesn't round out my spine. So for me today, that range of motion is about right there right now, almost to the floor. If I have to go further, you see my lower back rounded out a bit. So what we want to do is find that range. If I were more warmed up, if the weight were heavier, I may be able to go lower before the spine starts to round. But even if it happens to only be that you can go this far before the spine wants to round, stop the range of motion right there. You want the hips providing the range of motion, glutes and hamstrings providing the pull to lift the weights. You want the spine remaining neutral, as if someone's pulling the crown of your head forward and the tailbone back. If your spine starts to round, that's the key that tells you to limit your range of motion right there. When you do it this way, when you keep the spine in neutral, you're going to feel activity typically in the lower back muscles, and that's fine. It's fine to feel activity in the lower back muscles. You may feel like doing it this way with your spine neutral, maintaining that little bit of curve in your lower back. You may find that it gives you a little bit more fatigue in the lower back, and that's fine. That's because you're using those muscles. Whenever you lift anything from the ground, if you start to round your spine, I'm no longer in this fully flexed spine. I'm no longer able to use my muscles here. The structures that are taking the load when I lift something in that way are the ligaments and the discs. And we don't want to put stress on those structures. We're okay with getting a little pulled muscle here and there because of higher muscle activity, but you don't want to rupture a disc or damage a ligament. If you do deadlifts properly compared to improperly, you're probably more likely, although the likelihood is small, you're probably more likely to pull a muscle in your lower back. But if you do them wrong, you're probably more likely to injure a disc or a ligament. You don't want to injure a disc or ligament. They heal really slowly. They don't have much blood supply. They don't have many capillaries. You'd rather get a little slight muscle pull from engaging the muscles too much than to get a ligament or a disc injury in your spine. So muscle activity is good. Rounding the spine is not when you're lifting something heavy. It's okay, say if you're bending over to tie your shoes, yeah, definitely the spine is meant to move, so don't worry too much about that. But when you're lifting something heavy, keep it in neutral. Take a big breath on the way down. Brace your abdomen and pick it up. Got any benefit from this video? Then leave a comment below. If you would like to get more access to stuff that's not available on the blog or the regular YouTube channel, then click the link that's connected to this video. You have a chance to sign up for the Run Better Now VIP Club. Thank you.